Bo-Katan? More like Bo-Karen. Am I right, everybody? To those who would say Star Wars is creatively bankrupt, Jon Favreau would say, go watch The Lion King, and then he would say, The Mandalorian. This show is such a breath of fresh air.
For you see, Star Wars wasn't always accessible.
The old continuity was crazy convoluted. A casual Star Wars fan might pick up a novel at their local bookstore on a whim, but rather than being sucked in by this new storytelling medium, they'd likely be frustrated because of how bogged down in continuity these stories would be. That's what made this TV show so cool, its accessibility. In the future, the introduction of new characters would change that.
But I digress.
Season 1 would introduce us to the now famous Din-Djarin, or maybe just Djarin, I'll look it up before I do the next take, and Baby Yoda, aka corporate-mandated mascot number 901. Unlike all these other guys though, Baby Yoda, much like the show he debuted in, felt very new. Now I personally couldn't explain to you why he stands out among all the other plushies, but he does. Maybe it's the puppetry mixed with special effects, I don't know. Watching him jump around is absolutely adorable. Watching Yoda jump around makes me want to throw up. I usually hate these mascot characters because they're only there so that at Christmas kids will buy a toy of them. Now see, I'm not blaming Disney for this, because George started all this crap with Ewoks. And I get that even Disney has to make money if they're gonna put these properties out. It's all to make moolah, and that's fine. Anyway, who's taking care of Baby Yoda? Well, that would be Din, the titular Mandalorian, voiced by the incredibly talented and incredibly everywhere Pedro Pascal. Skull? I'll look it up after the next take. I say voiced because although sometimes we get to see Pedro's face, most of the time it's just his voice, and although the showrunners for a long time would insist that, no, he's in that armor, in recent time they have come around to telling the truth and admit that he's a very busy guy, and they can't always throw him in stinky armor for hours on end, you know? Whether he's in the armor or not, though, the character is rad as hell. I'm not gonna run down every single thing that happens in the first season of The Mandalorian, because it's not until season 2 that we run into who we're here to talk about. But in order to understand what is going to happen in season 2, when she who has not yet been named shows up, I'm gonna explain who these two are and what they've been up to. It'll be real quick, I promise. When the series begins, and we are first introduced to Din, he is stoic and mysterious. Throughout this show's first season, we get glimpses of his past and how he came to become a Mandalorian in the first place. Unlike somebody I know, Din wasn't born on Mandalore. He was saved by Mandalorians and adopted into their culture. I feel like this is important to point out because we know that Mandalorians are pretty insular and, I'm gonna say it, prejudiced. So you can imagine how some of these guys are gonna treat Din. When Din initially encounters this middle-aged baby, it's as a bounty hunter doing a job for the Empire. He views this little green dude as nothing more than a target, a means to an end so he can make money and bring it back to the Mandalorian covert. While he's cold at first, Din gradually warms to the adorable little ball of wrinkles that is this guy. By the start of season 2, they are closer than most fathers and sons are in real life. It's in the second season that Bo will make her live-action debut. The actor is actually the voice actor that played her before, so that's pretty neat, although the wig isn't.
I'm Katie fucking Sack off. Who the fuck are you?
Before I can tell you that story, I have to tell you a few important things. Important detail number 1. Bo-Katan, who at the end of my last video, we saw receive the Darksaber, has lost it off-screen. The legendary Darksaber is no longer in Bo-Katan's hands. It belongs to an Imperial. Who's this Imperial? Why, it's Gustavo Fring. His name isn't actually Gustavo. That was a bit. The character's real name is Gideon. More formally, this is Moff Gideon. He was a high-ranking Imperial before the Galactic Empire fell apart at the end of Return of the Jedi. He's the main villain of this show, as well as Bo-Katan's new arch-nemesis. So let's talk about him a little bit. He's a power-hungry Imperial officer, which longtime fans know isn't anything new for this franchise. For a long time, Star Wars nerds weren't able to go outside and throw a rock without hitting an Imperial officer in the back of the head. In the Star Wars Legends days, authors had a serious problem with repeatedly using Imperial officers as the main antagonists of their stories. But hey, I said this show was accessible earlier, and I meant it. If you jump into The Mandalorian blind, you don't know any of that, and that's fine. So for now,
let's stick with what the show reveals to us about Gideon. When the Empire went down the shitter, Moff Gideon grabbed whoever and whatever he could and bailed. He's a warlord using Imperial assets to bully his way around the galaxy. He's not alone in this, though. He and a bunch of other warlords are hard at work trying to unify their fractured empire. That is, whenever they're not fighting amongst themselves. Anyways, he took the Darksaber from Bo. You might be asking, how did taking away Bo's glitter sword help Gideon in his quest to restore the Empire to its former glory? The answer is that it didn't. Gideon's just really obsessed with the Mandalorian aesthetic. Not the people, not the culture, just the look of that cool armor. This is especially weird to think about when you realize he's responsible for the deaths of most of what remained of the Mandalorian race. All because he wanted to steal their drip for himself.
He has had a sordid history with the Mandalorian people, and next to zero personality. Gideon wants Baby Yoda for his cloning experiments, but Mando manages to keep the cute little guy out of Imperial custody. The Imperial remnant is still gunning for him, however. A lot of Din's tribe died because they were defending the Cabbage Patch Kid. With his tribe heavily diminished and without a home base, Din is sent out on a brand new mission. What is this mission? Return Baby Yoda to his people. The space sorcerers, not his actual species. Now, the person tasking our Mando with this is another important new Mandalorian called the Armorer. She's the leader of Din's tribe, and although her origin hasn't been revealed yet, her horned helmet and red armor leads me to believe that she was on the right side of history. Ya boy gets a jetpack, makes some big strides, becoming less of a robo-racist, and makes a quick stop to mourn the loss of a friend.
I have spoken.
Before flying off into the sunset for Season 2. Din decides he'll have a better chance of locating a Jedi if he has other Mandalorians to help him. I guess the first thing he would have done was ask one of his friends, but since all of them were murdered by the Empire, he's gotta go looking for new guys. So the season starts off with Din hunting warriors rather than wizards. The episode opens with Din Jarhead's ship falling with style. Where is it falling? Into the ocean of an aquatic planet. Why is Din on an ocean planet? Well, because he's reuniting two star-crossed salamanders. This handsome couple is expecting, you see, and our main man Mando agreed to curry Ms. Liz and her eggs to her husband in exchange for info on where he can find more Mandalorians. Because again, he's supposed to find the Jedi. He's lonely, I suppose, so he's looking for more. So this whole salamander fertilizing egg thing, it's all just a means to an end. At least it was before Din fell in love. Hilariously,
Baby Yoda
eats at least 3 of this lady's unfertilized eggs before she can meet back up with her husband. So Mando's ship is pulled out of the ocean because when he tried to land, he instead fell into the ocean. So some fishermen end up pulling his ship out of the water, and while the lovers embrace, Mando watches on. So he's about to hightail it out of there when some creepy lady is staring him down from across the way. She's in a hood. Who do we know that likes to wear hoods for no reason when they're not even covering your face? Mandalorians. We've seen it. Ursa does it. Bo does it. And now this one. She's a new character that I like to call Roderick, due to her strange hair choices and because I refuse to learn her actual name. Din heads to a nearby inn to get some grub. He orders some chowder for his son and a bowl of information for himself. The innkeeper points our protagonist towards some shady squidmen across the room. I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys, I have never cared for squidmen, and if you want to unsubscribe because I have that opinion, you're a coward. This suspicious-looking character claims he can take Din to more of his kind.
Have you seen them?
I can bring you to them. Only a few hours sail. It'll cost you though.
This guy seems
Entirely
trustworthy. Of course, Din agrees, so they set sail on what I assume was the next day? Maybe it was the exact same day? Imagine whatever you will. Din has
Baby Yoda
with them, and both of them think they're heading to see some new Mandalorian friends. But in a twist that surprises absolutely nobody but him, those filthy squidmen betray Din. The squidmen manage to bat Baby Yoda into the mouth of a giant sea monster. These guys attempt to plunder Din's expensive armor by throwing Baby Yoda into danger. Just like a squidman to put a child in danger for profit. The squidmen aren't the only ones that do this. This is a regular routine for Din. A lot of people try to take Din's armor because it's worth a lot of money, and it's pretty much indestructible. So of course they're gonna try to take it. But you can assume, because Din is still wearing the armor, that nobody has succeeded. I guess he was really caught off guard this time though, because here he's beaten quite easily. Din bravely dives in after the beast that swallowed up his baby boy, but gives up after about 10 seconds. He was in such a hurry to save his child, he forgot he couldn't breathe underwater. Which, you know, came as a surprise to me because he has a crazy arsenal of weapons and gadgets, and you would assume the breathing apparatus, because all of the Mandalorians and Rebels were able to breathe in space, but I guess not. Our boy Mando struggles to catch his breath. But wait, do you hear that?
Get her out of here.
It's the lady that's in the title of the episode, the heiress. What is she the heiress to? Oh boy, you're gonna be mad. Fear not, pathetic excuse of a father. Bo-Katan and her cronies are here to save the day. One of Bo's helpers escorts Din to a safe area where he can watch them accomplish what Din was unable to. This is going great. Sure, Din got upstaged this once, but that doesn't matter. Baby Yoda is safe. And that's all that Din really cares about. Uh-oh, the Katan cadre all take off their helmets and Din gets pissed.
You do not cover your face. You are not Mandalorian.
So why is Din all pissy about them not wearing helmets? How is it that makes sense, considering we've seen Mandalorians in the past take off their helmets? It's at this point in the narrative where we discover this new Mandalorian culture we've been introduced to is so different from what we've known before because Din is in fact part of a cult. Bo refers to him as a child of the Watch. They're a bunch of religious zealots that broke away from Mandalorian society either during or prior to the Clone Wars. Because Din was taken in by this cult at an early age, he had no idea what a Jedi was, or who Bo is. See, what's weird about that is that, although it hasn't outright been stated, there is very obviously a connection between Death Watch and the Children of the Watch. Din tells Bo that she's a big ol' faker, and that Bo should never talk to him or his son ever again. And then he flies off all pissy. Then from the looks of things, Din continues to spy on these three fakers from the shore until sunset when they blow up the boat. Why they waited until sunset to do this, and why Din watched the whole time, I could not explain to you. Later that night, or maybe also immediately after sunset, it's anybody's guess, Din is traveling through town when he suddenly finds himself surrounded by vengeful tentacle havers. You killed my brother. Perfect. Now our boy can redeem himself by taking out these redneck pirates. This time, they don't have the element of surprise. So I know that Din is going to be able to redeem himself, and oh, for fuck's sakes. That's twice now that Bo has saved the day. Wow, she's so cool. She's so cool. I love it when writers do this sort of thing. I love when Worf, the big powerful character on Star Trek, gets his ass kicked by whatever villain is on the show that week, just so that we can go, whoa. But if it happens enough, if Worf's ass gets kicked enough, we're gonna stop thinking that he's a badass. The same can be said for Din, who again has needed saving twice in Bo's debut episode. He never had these struggles before. I wonder if the only reason Bo is being written in as his savior is so that we, the audience, start to think, this lady seems to be like double Din with double D's. Neutering a character the audience has come to love isn't how you endear a fan base to a new one. Anywho, Bo offers to buy Din a drink, and he agrees, because how do you say no twice when your life gets saved? How do you do that? That's just rude. To my surprise, there is not a third group of squidmen waiting to make a fool of Din again. No, instead, we get more info on what it is that Bo's doing on this water world. As it turns out, Bo is building a stockpile of weapons and amassing all the resources she can, because she intends on retaking Mandalore.
In response to this information being revealed, Din says something that I find very interesting.
That planet is cursed. Anyone who goes there dies. Once the Empire knew they couldn't control it, they made sure no one else could either.
Don't believe everything you hear.
For those of you that don't remember, the planet Mandalore was a desert wasteland back during the Clone Wars. What few cities we did see pop up have been annihilated by the Empire. This happened pretty quickly after Bo took power. Again, incredible work, Bo. You never cease to amaze me. After their back and forth, Bo successfully ropes Din into helping her and her merry band of gentle femmes by telling him that she can help with finding a Jedi. Though he is hesitant to work with Mandos that don't live by his same creed, he's got no other choice and he wants to help his son. So he sends his child to Reptile World and goes about completing a task for Bo. And I gotta admit, the action in this episode is actually pretty good, outside of those other scenes. But the dialogue, it leaves a lot to be desired. And I'm not hating on Katie Sackhoff here. I don't think it's her fault. I think she's a fine actress. I believe that there isn't an actor on Earth that could deliver these lines convincingly.
I copy. Thanks for packing up all this gear so nicely.
In between Bo's poor attempts at intimidation, she lets slip that this heist is actually a hijacking.
Oh, we're not jettisoning anything. We're taking the entire ship.
What?
Put some tea on. We'll be up in a minute.
That's some shady shit, but not at all out of character for Bo. Initially, I had thought that Bo was being introduced to become a new villain in the series. Wouldn't that be cool if she started off as this anti-hero, only then for her true nature to be revealed later on down the line? That would be so cool. I really hope that happens. Before the episode wraps up, Din is given a badass moment of self-sacrifice in an attempt to make up for how pathetic he appeared in those two earlier scenes. We also find out that Bo isn't just trying to retake Mandalore.
Where is it?
There's what?
The dark saber. Does he have it?
Even with Bo giving Din the runaround, she at the very least follows through on her promise to lead him to a Jedi.
Take the Foundling to the city of Caladan on the forest planet of Corvus. There you'll find Ahsoka Tano.
Ahsoka Tano? She's not even really a Jedi.
I am no Jedi.
And how does Bo know where she is right now? Is Ahsoka constantly sharing her coordinates with Bo? Has she been keeping in contact with Bo more than she has been with Rex? Because that's criminal. The actress that plays Bo-Katan did some interviews to advertise her appearance on this show, and I was thrilled to find out that she had to answer a question about slapping Ahsoka's butt cheeks.
I always think about this with Bo-Katan, but her first appearance ever in Clone Wars back in 2012. I love that she gives Ahsoka like this baseball coach slap on the butt. If you guys ever cross paths in live action, can you promise us right now that they'll reference this somewhere in the show?
This smooth-talking interviewer tries to reframe the whole situation, but Katie, to her credit, replies by noting that she, as an actor, doesn't always get to play the good guys.
It's one of those things that, you can't always portray characters that are morally perfect. They live in this gray world. Would I slap another woman on the butt? Probably not.
After that, she promptly embraces the sanitized version of events that this interviewer has presented to her.
But maybe I would. If she was a really good friend, I might. It depends.
Why did you backpedal, Katie?
I'm sure it will be referenced. I'm sure people want to reference it. It'd be kind of cheeky if it was.
Prior to Ahsoka's live-action debut, Din discovers what the audience has already known for a while. Moff Gideon is alive, and on top of that, he wants to capture the child and suck out his blood with big scary needles to help make Snoke's to lead the new Empire in a terrible sequel series. Pretty screwed up. So Ahsoka's back, and she tells us that Baby Yoda's name is Grogu instead of Baby Yoda, and he makes the cutest noise ever.
Grogu?
Ahsoka refuses to train him. Why? Well, because he has a strong attachment to Din, and in all fairness, she has a bad history with guys that have strong attachments as well as a strong connection to the Force. Before this episode comes to a close, she gives Din a pure Beskar spear. It's a weapon made of a metal that is sacred to his culture. Ahsoka won this in a lightsaber duel that took way too long considering what we've seen Ahsoka is capable of in the past. That's besides the point though. Din really appreciates the gift.
Its mere existence puts Mandalorians at risk.
Before Din and Grogu leave, Ahsoka tells Din of the planet Tython, which in Legends is the birthplace of the Jedi. Apparently, if they go to Tython, Grogu might be able to reach out through the Force to find a new master. Hopefully a real Jedi this time, and not a dropout like Ahsoka.
Okay, so quick side tangent here before we continue on. In recent times, Bo and Sabine have been the two Mandalorians that Disney has tried to push as the faces of Mandalore. But before them, as many of you know, the original was Boba Fett. That's right, Boba Fett makes an appearance, because of course he does. Forget about Din, he's old news. Maybe Pedro Pascal is too hard to schedule these days, so we gotta get someone else. Who's not getting booked all the time? Well, the guy that played Jango Fett. Of course. But he's not playing Jango Fett. No, he's playing Boba Fett, which I guess makes sense, because Boba Fett is a clone of Jango Fett. No, instead, Jango's playing Boba, and just like in Legends, he crawled out of that Sarlacc pit, and he is pissed. For a long time before he was revealed to be a clone of this actor, people speculated on what was underneath that helmet. Was it a cool monster? Was it like a Samus thing? Was there a lady in there with like a voice modulator? Nope. Just a clone. Gone is the wiry and lithe Boba Fett of old. Say hello to his wide-waisted replacement,
Timuira
Morrison. He's heated. He's got hips. And unlike in Empire, you can see his lips. So Fett and Din end up beefing, because earlier in this season, Din actually found and took possession of Fett's old armor. This armor has traded hands several times since the Sarlacc incident, but the buck stops here. So Boba Frankenstein threatens to murk Din's little Fisher-Price goblin if his demands aren't met. He's on the edge, man. He'll kill that kid if you don't give him his armor back, man. He's not screwing around, dude. Well, actually, he threatens to have his cyborg lady slave do it. Things seem like they might settle down, but then the Empire shows up and crashes the party. Just as Grogu goes Ultra Instinct with our tiny green friend. All tranced out, Din is unable to flee. Boba gets to crack some skulls in a bloodless massacre. Din gets 12 kills at once.
Killing frenzy.
But none of that matters, because Grogu gets kidnapped by dubstep robots. Something that Star Wars has been severely lacking in. Just to throw some salt on the wound, the Empire blows up Din's motorhome on the way out. Dick move, guys, come on. With the little baby boy gone, Boba and his companion feel real guilty for the part they played in his abduction.
The child's gone.
Till he has returned to you safely, we are in your debt.
After that, the rest of the episode is an Ocean's 11 style crew building montage. Bill Burr's in this one.
No one cares!
We're not here to talk about Boba or Bill. We're here to talk about Bo. Din has rounded up a gang to save his boy. The final few Avengers he needs to assemble, however, are these two knuckleheads. Some of you eagle-eyed viewers might have noticed, when she and Din parted ways last, Bo had two companions. Where's the boy? What happened to the boy one? Her and her friends were off on the hunt for Moff Gideon. Back then she tried to recruit Din to help her in her cause. But now she's lost a team member, and really, rather pathetically, has given up on reclaiming the Darksaber entirely.
They took the child.
Who?
Moff Gideon.
You'll never find him.
Now again, to her credit, Bo sounded all in on helping find Djarin Jr. until she discovered that the crusade to save him was also a crusade against Gideon. So she says no, and Boba Fett says, whatever, let's get out of here. They don't want to help. We don't need them.
We don't need these two. Let's get out of here.
Maybe you shouldn't have thrown in the we don't need him at the end, but you know, he says it. It is what it is.
You are not a Mandalorian.
Never said I was.
I didn't know sidekicks were allowed to talk.
Din reveals that he knows where Gideon is, and even sweetens the deal further by offering Bo Gideon's ship, should she agree to come along. In doing this, Din brings up the planet Mandalore.
You gotta be kidding me. Mandalore? The Empire turned that planet to glass.
What Boba says here is very similar to something Din said to Bo in the Squidman episode.
That planet is cursed. Anyone who goes there dies. Once the Empire knew they couldn't control it, they made sure no one else could either.
Bo answers with,
Don't believe everything you hear.
but when Boba says it, she is immediately incensed. Boba was a little bit rude, but this is insane to me.
You are a disgrace to your armor.
This armor belonged to my father.
Don't you mean your donor?
Really unnecessary. I was mostly joking when I called Bo a racist in previous episodes, but I think it is without debate at this point that Bo-Katan is prejudiced against clones. Bo and Boba haven't met in person before. However, she's met many people with the same faith. Now, it was these clone troopers, you might recall, that helped Bo retake Mandalore from the leader that she did not like, that she helped put into power. You could say that she has a strong dislike for him because he looks like those troops. Because those troops that helped her also held the planet. I would wager that Bo resents Jango for his part in creating these enemy soldiers, and in turn, she's pushing a lot of that aggression and anger she's feeling towards Boba. Not fair, but understandable, I suppose. Boba himself isn't a clone trooper, though. He was raised like a son by Jango, which maybe makes her hate him more because he doesn't consider himself Mandalorian. But where's the armor? That's the armor that he inherited from his father, but I guess only Mandalorians ever can wear the armor. On top of all that, Boba also worked as a bounty hunter for the Empire, which apparently, in Bo's eyes, is an unforgivable sin. Except no, it is not, because by now Bo has forgiven Sabine for building that lightning ray that almost brought about the annihilation of her people when she was working under Imperial leadership. So that's kind of stupid, but I guess Boba working for the Empire at their peak is way worse than almost annihilating your entire culture. It's totally different, because Sabine calls herself a Mandalorian, while Boba does not. Boba and Roderick get into a brawl because Bo-Katan chose to escalate the situation. The show depicts Roderick and Boba to be evenly matched, which makes me want to vomit. Not because she's a girl, but because this is Boba Fett. Put some respect on the name! Bo then realizes that she may have gone too far in a few places, and agrees to Din's insanely good offer if she gets to keep the Darksaber once Gideon is in New Republic custody.
One more thing. Gideon has a weapon that once belonged to me. I will kill them off and retake what is rightfully mine. With the Darksaber restored to me, Mandalore will finally be within reach.
Do I look like I give a f? Because I don't.
More villainous vibes. I thought this was going to be another hint towards her inevitably becoming the next season's villain. Which, wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be great? If all the Disney executives and the writers actually realized that Bo is a bad person, and we shouldn't be making random terrorists into heroes for little girls. Unless your name's Kira Nerys, in which case she was absolutely justified in all of her behavior. Bo, being who she is, starts acting as if she's team commander right away.
We split into two parties.
I go alone.
Fine.
The plan Bo comes up with is for her and the other angels, Din's angels, to bust in with maximum initiative to distract the majority of Gideon's troops. While the gals are shooting their way up towards the bridge, Din will sneak over to where the imps are keeping Grogu and break him out of his cell. When Din and the girls both achieve their respective missions, they're to meet up on the bridge together. Boba won't be coming on this mission because he's already had his big moment, and so, like the gentleman that we all know he is, Boba has politely bowed out of the spotlight and gives Din and his dames their time to shine.
Moff Gideon is mine. Got it? I need him alive. I don't care what happens to him as long as he surrenders to me.
The girls kick ass all the way through the ship, but when they reach the bridge, Gideon isn't anywhere to be found.
Where's Gideon?
Cutting back to Din, it turns out that Gideon's been waiting for him in Grogu's cell. The two of them get into a scrap, with Din coming out the victor. So, with no further delay, Din heads to the bridge to rendezvous with his lady crew.
What happened?
She's looking real nettled here, because Din got to Gideon before she could. Now, Gideon is a pretty bland character, but this is now his moment.
It's yours now.
What is?
The Darksaber. It belongs to you.
No, it belongs to her.
She can't take it. It must be won in battle. In order for her to wield the Darksaber again, she would need to defeat you in combat.
I yield. It's yours.
It doesn't work that way. The Darksaber doesn't have power. The story does. Without that blade, she's a pretender.
He's right.
Come on, just take it.
For whatever reason, she can't accept it unless it's won in combat. This is a really weird retcon because it didn't seem to matter when all the Mandalorian clans voted for Bo to be the leader and get the sword. But sure, things get tense between Bo and Din. These two don't come to blows though. Instead, everyone on the bridge has to prepare for a big valiant last stand. For you see, the dubstep troopers have Din's fire team surrounded. Earlier, the single Dark Trooper almost killed Din. So if he can barely defeat one, him and his friends don't stand a chance against a whole platoon. All seems lost until a mysterious X-Wing appears. Who's in the X-Wing, you might be asking? Well,
don't give me hope, bro. Bro, my heart's beating so fast right now. Don't. Freaking Luke Skywalker, alright?
He received Grogu's Ultra Instinct message on Tython and shows up to save the day, somehow, knowing that they would be there. Don't think about it too hard. Luke's sudden appearance puts Gideon in a panic, which is great, because that's exactly how an Imperial should react to seeing a Jedi in this canon. That's just an amazing moment. So after taking some cheap shots at Bo, Gideon is incapacitated. Din and Grogu share a heartbreaking moment, saying goodbye to one another, with Din actually showing his face to Grogu for the very first time. This is a pretty big deal because Din's breaking that vow that we know is very important to him. But it makes sense that he would do it because this should be their final farewell. Grogu is back with those like him. Din's quest is complete. I think it would be a huge mistake to continue on much longer than maybe one final season with Din on his own, with Bo being a potential villain, and Din now possessing the Darksaber. All this is a cool way to end off the series. A short little epilogue season, and then that's it for The Mandalorian. Wait, what?
What's up, Typical Jedi Gaming? What's up, Riled Up? He says, how can you justify having made your career off of reading Wikipedia articles while pretending to know more than you really do? Genuine question. Well, see, it's very easy.